Let's move to number 8, which is the last of our 8 common obstacles. Why are you teaching me about storytelling? Isn't my biggest challenge to survive cross examination? Am I not here just to survive the cross? Isn't that where my testimony becomes the most effective? And this is a common misconception among expert witnesses, among less experienced expert witnesses. Now, for those of us who are experienced experts, for those of us who've been on the witness stand a number of times, I want you to think about cross-examination questions and the questions you get and the answers you give to those questions. In 80 to 90% of the case, 80 to 90% of the questions can be answered with one of the following answers: yes, no, or I don't know. We're talking about yes or no questions, cross-examination questions. Good opposing counsel is going to attempt to thread the needle with bite-sized yes or no questions. The answer to most of them will be yes. And then he or she will take those yes answers or no answers and kind of tie them together in his or her closing argument. One of my retaining counsel in a very recent case, it was a pretty substantial case, in preparing me for my testimony, for my trial testimony, he said, Michael, when you are on the witness stand, I want for your cross-examination testimony to be boring. Keep it as boring as possible. Keep your direct examination interesting. That's where you tell the story. That's where you capture the jurors. That's where you get the jurors to connect with you. But when we talk about cross-examination, your objective is just survive. Just keep the boat afloat. You don't want the boat to capsize. Answer yes, answer no. Most of those answers go directly over the heads of the jurors. If you have done a good job of telling your story under direct examination, and really good direct testimony is more challenging and more difficult than good cross-examination testimony. I know it's not more intimidating, but it's more difficult. You tell your story, you give your testimony as a compelling story that brings the jurors in, and whatever the cross-examination is, it's just going to bounce off. It's not going to make any impact. Keep it boring. So, and rarely, occasionally you will have an opportunity to tell a story under cross-examination. And I've had a number of situations like that. But I've got a story, but we'll bring it into play at a later time today. But yes, storytelling is typically associated. It's typically part of your direct testimony. Cross-examination, yes or no, I don't know. Boring, it's not going to register with jurors at all.